Yellow River did not reach the sea for 226 days. That was 1997. The point where it ran dry sat 700 kilometers from the coast. 7 million acres of farmland received no water that year. China's most storied river had first failed to reach the sea in 1972. By the 1990s, it was failing almost every year. Beijing was running out of water differently. The city had 22 million people and a water table dropping 1 meter per year. By 2010, 62% of its reservoirs had run dry. Today, beneath the bed of the Yellow River, there are 2 parallel tunnels. Each one is 4.25 kilometers long, buried 40 meters below the riverbed. They carry water from the Yangzi basin directly beneath the Yellow River. The 2 greatest rivers in China now cross each other underground. Those tunnels are one piece of a project stretching 1,400 kilometers across the country, more expensive than 2 Three Gorges Dams, 350,000 people displaced. Still not finished. It all began with one sentence. A man stood on a dry riverbank in 1952 and made an observation. Plenty of water in the south, almost none in the north. Maybe the north could borrow some. That man was Mao Zedong, not a hydrologist, not an engineer, the chairman of the Communist Party, whose offhand remark eventually cost $80 billion. This is how one sentence became the largest water project in human history. China has a geography problem. 80% of its freshwater sits south of the Huai River. North of that line sits roughly 42% of the population, 2/3 of the country's farmland, and 8% of its water. North China grows about 60% of China's wheat and 40% of its corn on water resources. The UN would classify as absolute scarcity. The threshold is 500 cubic meters per person per year. North China averages between 225 and 300. The most visible symptom was the Yellow River. China's second longest river has sustained civilization in the north for over 4,000 years. It has also been running dry. In 1997, it ran dry for 226 consecutive days, stopping 700 kilometers from the coast. 7 million acres of farmland received no water. Underground, the situation was worse. Farmers and cities had been pulling water from the North China Plain for decades, consuming groundwater far faster than it could be replaced. By the early 2000s, the depletion had formed a cone of depression, an area of collapsed reserves, 50,000 square kilometers wide, the largest aquifer depletion cone measured anywhere on Earth. In some areas, the land itself was sinking as the water left. The north was not running low, it was running out. In October 1952, Mao Zedong was on an inspection tour along the Yellow River. He looked at the water and offered one observation. Southern China had water, the north did not. Maybe it could borrow some. One sentence. Not a policy directive, not an engineering order. What followed was 50 years of almost nothing. Feasibility studies launched in the 1950s were quietly set aside. The Cultural Revolution shut down large-scale scientific planning for a decade. In 2000, Qian Zhengying, China's former Minister of Water Resources and one of the country's most respected engineers, delivered a formal assessment to the State Council. Her conclusion? The most ambitious proposed route had no technical or economic feasibility. Not yet, maybe not ever. 2 years later, the State Council approved the project anyway. What changed was not engineering confidence, it was drought. The 1990s brought one severe dry season after another. Political will was there. Ground broke on December 27, 2002. 50 years after one sentence on a dry riverbank, shovels went into the ground. The project had 3 routes designed to move 44.8 billion cubic meters of water north every year, close to matching the Yellow River's entire annual flow. Moved from the south into the north. The eastern route follows China's ancient Grand Canal. Water from the Yangzi River near Yangzhou is lifted north through 34 pumping stations arranged in 13 cascades, raising it 65 meters against gravity to reach the Yellow River crossing. The eastern route runs on electricity permanently. Phase 1 opened in December 2013. The middle route draws water from the Danjiangkou reservoir in Hubei province and carries it 1,432 kilometers to Beijing and Tianjin entirely by gravity. Danjiangkou sits 100 meters higher than Beijing. Engineers crossed 219 rivers and streams and built 2,387 structures along the way. The first water reached Beijing in December 2014. Then came the western route. It would pull water from Yangzi tributaries on the Tibetan plateau into the Yellow River. The terrain sits between 3,000 and 5,000 meters above sea level, among the most seismically active on Earth. A 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck the target area in January 2025, killing 126 people. As of 2026, the western route has never broken ground. The middle route required raising the Danjiangkou Dam from 162 to 176.6 meters. Everything below the new waterline was cleared: homes, farmland, villages, graves. 345,000 people were relocated from Hubei and Henan provinces. Each person received roughly 72,400 yuan, about $11,000, plus 600 yuan per year for 20 years. The problem was that money does not move a livelihood. Farming families were placed in new towns with smaller land allocations. Communities that had farmed the same valley for generations were scattered across different counties. One displaced resident was shown her new apartment block and asked, "Does this look like a home to you?" Wang Tonghuan, 62, when her village was relocated in 2011, described the new life. In the morning, everyone sleeps in. In the afternoon, they play cards. That's it. Some families had been through this before. The original Danjiangkou Dam, built between 1958 and 1973, had already displaced roughly 380,000 people from the same river basin. When the expansion came, some were being relocated for the second time. Around the reservoir, factories were closed, aquaculture shut down, mineral extraction banned. Some communities had been told since 1992 not to build or invest. They waited more than 2 decades before the relocation finally came. The communities that paid the most were among the poorest in China. Their water went north to China's richest city. The eastern route was supposed to be the simple one, following existing canals. Engineers expected it before the 2008 Beijing Olympics. It opened 5 years later. The Grand Canal, in use for over 1,500 years, was also among the country's most polluted waterways. Water quality was classified as Grade 5+, unfit for any use. China built 426 sewage treatment plants along the route. The cleanup consumed 44% of the eastern route's entire construction budget. The middle route hit a harder problem. Water traveling 1,432 kilometers by gravity ran straight into the Yellow River, carrying enormous volumes of sediment and polluted water. Diverting around it was not feasible. Bridging over it would contaminate the clean water below. The solution was to go underneath. Engineers bored 2 parallel tunnels directly beneath the riverbed, each 4,250 meters long with a 7-meter diameter, sitting 40 meters below the river's bottom. Concrete barriers were sunk 76.6 meters into the earth to hold the surrounding soil. Both were national records. Across the full middle route, 2,387 structures, tunnels, aqueducts, inverted siphons, 571 road bridges. The Yellow River passes overhead. Yangzi water passes below. By May 2026, the 2 operational routes had delivered more than 88 billion cubic meters of water to nearly 200 million people across 48 cities. Beijing's transformation is the clearest measure. Before December 2014, it got none of its water from the middle route. Today, the route supplies roughly 80% of the city's urban water. Its water table, dropping 4 decades, has risen. In 2015, reaching groundwater required drilling 25.75 meters down. By 2023, 14.74 meters, 11 meters closer to the surface. In Kangzhou, Hebei, decades of pumping had sunk the land. In one district, a 3-story hospital had disappeared an entire floor underground. After the diversion, land subsidence dropped by 72%. The project worked by the measures it was designed to meet. What happened elsewhere is also real. Diverting water from Danjiangkou reduced the Han River's downstream flow. Algal blooms erupted in 2015, 2016, 2018, and 2021. Communities along the lower Han gave up nothing for the project and had their water compromised anyway. China's response was a second diversion, a supplementary canal pushing Yangzi water back into the Han River to restore what the first diversion removed. That project displaced an additional 5,200 people. A diversion built to compensate for the diversion. The western route has never broken ground. The project was designed to redirect 3 rivers. 2 are running. 1 is still a plan. 1952, Mao Zedong stood on a riverbank, looked at the water and made a simple observation. Southern China had plenty. The north had almost nothing. Maybe the north could borrow some. That sentence has now cost $80 billion. It displaced 350,000 people. It buried 2 tunnels beneath the Yellow River, raised a dam, flooded a valley, and delivered water to 200 million people. And it is not finished. The western route remains unbuilt, designed to address the Yellow River basin, the original source of the North's water crisis. China's own engineers said it could not be done. No start date exists. What the project did answer is a different question. China sits at the headwaters of more than a dozen major rivers: the Mekong, the Brahmaputra, the Irrawaddy, the Salween, the Indus. All of them flow into neighboring countries. Roughly 2 billion people live downstream. China has not signed a binding water-sharing treaty with any of them. A government can decide to redirect its rivers at any scale it chooses. China built the infrastructure to prove it. One man said the North could borrow some water. 70 years later, the borrowing is not done. China moved a river 1,400 kilometers to solve its water crisis. Watch how it dammed its greatest river to solve its flooding crisis, submerging 13 cities, 140 towns, and 1,350 villages, displacing 1.3 million people, and asking whether the full cost was ever honestly written into the equation. Watch, China drowned 13 cities on purpose.